The more things change, the more they stay the same. John Bon Jovi said that. And we're going to say that on this show by nature of what's been happening in the college football news cycle over the course of the last couple of days. You got Nick Saban, fresh into retirement, going to Capitol Hill, talking to the folks in D.C. and letting them know, hey, listen, the things I believed in as a college football coach, the things I believed in coaching for 50 years, those no longer exist in college football. Thanks, NIL. Now, folks took that, ran with that, and said, Nick Saban saying he hates NIL. In fact, Nick Saban never said anything of the sort. He's been saying the opposite for the entirety of NIL's existence. He was saying players should get paid, I believe, even before NIL was in existence. But with that being said, the thing that he was trying to say, and we talked about it on this show yesterday, is that, hey, NIL needs to be contextualized, and with the guys that we have in college football right now at the player level, we need to have the right priorities in place. And Georgia football head coach yesterday, Kirby Smart, kind of said the same thing. He said they want to ask, they being recruits and prospective Georgia football players, they want to ask about NIL. They don't want to ask about what your NFL players have done. Essentially saying like they're more concerned about NIL than developing and getting that big money when they get to the league. Again, Saban said the same thing yesterday or a couple days ago, saying it's not about, how much you can develop me so much as it is about how much can you pay me. And so what's true here, and we said this again, that we're kind of rehashing this, but I think it's important for us to do right now. Some places are going to land more top recruits than they had before because of NIL. Some places are going to be able to throw a bag at a kid, throw him a couple more zeros, and get him to commit to their school. That is a reality. That is what NIL is now going to bring us, especially with the lack of oversight now that we have from the NCAA, which I believe, again, is a good thing. But what's also true is that the big boys in college football, I believe, in large part, will still be the big boys. Like everyone wants to talk about how NIL is going to negatively impact Alabama, negatively impact Georgia, negatively impact all these top schools across the country that usually have crushed it when it comes to recruiting and the transfer portal. Those schools are always well-resourced. They got top recruits because they were well-resourced, whether it was facilities, whether it was development that they were able to utilize because of the money they put into development. Like those schools that were always cream of the crop with acquiring talent, they're not going to somehow fall off the face of the earth. They might get 3 5-stars instead of 4 5-stars. But with that being the case, the schools that were able to crush it on the talent acquisition side are still going to crush it on the talent acquisition side in large part. Again, maybe we're spreading the wealth a little bit more. Maybe a school like Missouri is going to land another guy. Maybe a school like Tennessee is going to land another guy. But when you look at the grand scheme, when you look at the macro level of recruiting and talent acquisition, the big boys, I believe, are still going to be the big boys. Look at where the recruiting rankings were in 2018. You got Georgia at the top. You got Bama at the top. You got Ohio State. Fast forward the tape. We're in the NIL era now, right? So much more parity. We're going to have a ton more difficulty if we're Georgia and Bama acquiring top talent, right? Well, in 2024, it was Georgia, Bama, Ohio State as your top three in the on-3 industry team recruiting rankings. It's not changing that much. It's changing maybe 7 through 10 in the team rankings when it comes to recruiting. It's not changing that much. Here's the other part too. A lot is made about how it's going to hurt these coaches and how they recruit. I don't think we're giving enough attention to how much NIL is impacting the players. Like it has never been more difficult, in my opinion, to block out the external noise as a player than it is right now in modern college football. Not just because of social media, but because of what NIL adds to the table here. How often have we seen guys in professional sports get a big contract, have to deal with a million different outside variables, and then struggle on the field? It happens. It happens, and those are grown adults. Those are 25, 26-year-old cats. You're telling me a 17-year-old is going to get thrown, a couple $100,000 and be the same guy he was and be able to deal with that just smooth and in stride? There's more now as a player you have to deal with off the field than ever before. And so what I think needs to be said when it comes to this, the places that are able to help you block out the external noise, that are able to help you lock in to the nth degree, those are the places that crush it in development. Those are the players that get the most out of their talent. Like what I'm saying here is the great organizations are going to do 2 things. One, they're going to adapt. You don't think Georgia is adapting to the NIL world with how they're allocating funds, with how they're helping their players in the off-the-field side of things? I promise you they are. Second part of this, they are going to still get the most out of their team. Still going to get the most out of their team. Why? Because Georgia, they don't care how much you made on Bloody Tuesday. On Bloody Tuesday, that physical practice that the Georgia Bulldogs have on game weeks, or padded practices during the offseason, those are going to, I say offseason, spring football rather, that's still a reality. That's still going to pull the most out of you. So if you can't hang, that's going to get exposed pretty quickly at Georgia. But if you buy into how they do things, you're going to help yourself develop, become the best player you can be, and have success in the NFL. That's not my opinion. That's literally what the numbers are telling you when you look at how well Georgia has done at the NFL draft. Florida State, same thing. I know the sample size is pretty small right now when it comes to the transfer portal and NIL, but Mike Norvell and company over there, they've crushed it. They've crushed it in being able to bring guys in. You have to imagine having an attractive NIL package for them. Again, that's my assumption. And then be able to put them in position to be successful. It can't just be one thing of NIL over here on one hand. It can't just be the one priority of get me a bag, that's all I care about. To be successful, maybe NIL is a tool, maybe it's a side dish, but it's to help you capitalize on, again, your opportunity as a player, opportunity from a public standpoint. But the real money, again, is balling out in college and then getting to the league. The places that help you do that pre-NIL era, I believe will still be effective in doing that in the post-NIL era, or in the NIL era that we're in right now. So again, the more things change, NIL's changing it for top coaches, man, they can't hang anymore. Yeah, some coaches might not love it, and they might want to shift in terms of their role, and they might want to leave for the NFL. But for the most part, the places that had great structures in place that can adapt, that have great processes to get the most out of their players, that's still a reality. That's going to stand the test of time, and the ones that need to be adapted will adapt and be successful in that way. Again, 2018, Georgia, Bama, Ohio State, the top 3 teams in the recruiting rankings. In 2024, pretty much the same cast of characters. 7 through 10 might change in those recruiting rankings year in and year out. Might have some new entries to the top 5. For the most part, though, it's kind of staying the same. Hey, y'all, thanks so much for watching. Subscribe to the channel here to make sure you don't miss an episode of The Hard Count. Also, be sure to check out other videos on the On3 YouTube channel.